is the right to tell what they do not want to hear. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? Then wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media. For this is Anti-Media Radio.
But I want to get the language right. The government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves! Bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of media?
And now, here's your host, S.M. Gibson.
Jeb with an exclamation mark is still running for president of the United States. And David Cameron still had sex with a dead pig. It is February the 4th, 2016. You're listening to Anti-Media Radio. I'm your host, and my name is S.M. Gibson. We had a Democratic debate tonight. I got kind of confused at one point. I didn't know if I was listening to Hillary Clinton's foreign policy or Marco Rubio's foreign policy. But we'll get into all that tonight, plus all the headlines and what else is going on in the world. As always, in studio tonight, Mr. Kevin Knight. Kevin, how you doing, sir?
Hey, man. Doing great. How's that for a show opener?
It is what it is, I guess.
Jeb and Cameron, huh?
And our wonderful producer, Mr. Shannon Madden. Shannon.
Good evening, fellas. How are y'all?
Can't complain.
Bernie Sanders says the middle class bailed out Wall Street in their time of need. Now it's Wall Street's time to help the middle class. That's where all this free stuff's going to come from. That's his idea. How do y'all feel about that?
Wall Street.
Do you think that's really going to happen?
No, that's never going to happen.
You think honestly, anybody, any sitting president of any regime is going to be able to just walk up to Wall Street and say, "All right, we want our money back now. Now it's time to pay us back. Now we hooked you up. Now it's time for you."
Bernie's old. They can make that look real easy.
These kids need college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You people are just. I mean,
don't you love the children banks?
Yeah, anybody who is seriously, looking at any of these candidates and expecting any kind of change from the status quo of what we have right now is that's just ridiculous. And the reason we're in the place we're in right now is because of Wall Street's influence on Washington, hands down. That's it.
Okay.
But Bernie's not accepting any money from the corporations, right?
Let's ask this question. Put it this way. Let's say we get in a Trump or Rubio or Cruz versus Bernie. Do you think the banks are going to get involved for one of those candidates for the Republicans?
You mean more so than they already are? No, okay. Trump's got his own money. Nobody's.
Oh, they would get.
Nobody's donating any money to that campaign. He's paying for all that himself.
Well, Goldman Sachs, we know now that they didn't mind loaning Ted Cruz $1 million against his assets. So.
Speaking of Goldman Sachs, I don't know if you've seen this yet, Kevin. Tonight in the debate, Hillary Clinton was asked about the speeches, the paid speeches that she gave at Goldman Sachs events and a bunch of other events as well. And they want to know if she would release the transcripts on everything she said behind these closed doors at these events that she made a bunch of money for.
I'm going to assume she laughed it off.
She didn't laugh it off. She said, I'll have to look into it.
Right.
I'll have to look into
Not
it.
too far, right? Completely dismissive.
Oh, yeah. I'll have to look. I'll have to see what that's about.
Right. Like one through one ear and literally out the other.
Well, it's funny when you watch the vast difference between those two candidates, even though they are both kind of strangely tied in together. There's this, healthy little jab here, but I'm not going to respond to that, or
They're comrades.
Yeah, I mean they really are. They're
in the same fight.
And that should be the first clue that you're going to get the same no matter which way you vote. But at the same time, you have a lot of Republicans straight enough. See, yeah, I told you, those guys believe exactly what I'm saying. You Republicans are, I don't know which one are more disillusioned, the hard left or the hard right. I want to say they're both. I really think if they would kind of talk about their disillusionment and why they expect so much out of the government to pretty much rearrange and magically transform the quality of their lives, that's horseshit. We do that.
It wouldn't be the first time we saw opposing groups working together and seeing that culturally that they both have what they see as legitimate arguments, legitimate beefs, and have more of a reason to actually go after the central authority and that source of power versus fighting amongst themselves and against other groups of people that basically are roughly after the same for themselves and their own. So it wouldn't be the first time. And, that's important. It goes back to what we were seeing with the shooting up there in Oregon. Just more division is what we continue to see when at this point we need to take, I say we loosely, need to take a page from some of the Democrats and start being willing to work with some of our other libertarian, like-minded, freedom lovers, whatever you want to call them. Anytime with even a spark, even over on the liberal and the left-hand side, we've got plenty of callers from both sides, but it's past time that both sides start working together and get some common goals, and we don't have a lot of time. It seems like to get stuff done, so we better get moving.
And of course, the real dream and the real solution is for the apathetic to rise up. But
that's been a dream for.
Will we ever see that?
Right. It will probably just always be a dream.
Well, and again, that's why we have this broadcast.
Super Bowl's on Sunday, everybody.
Yeah.
But then again, it doesn't take a whole majority of people to
Roll Tide.
Historically, to make a change. At some point, I hate to go back to the founders, but we learned in school, it was 3% of the population went to war. But
look at what Castro did in Cuba.
Right, yeah, it took just a handful of people to. And Lenin, when Lenin came to power, it wasn't too many communists took over that country as well. Well disciplined and well armed, and we're not talking about the need for armed in this case for those just wanting freedom. But if enough people, as you say, apathetic, wake up and rise up, it doesn't take a large majority, and I think that's comforting to know.
It's an intellectual revolution, not a violent revolution. And I think that's one thing that's different about today than past revolutions. This one's a lot slower. It is similar, I think, in a way to what Martin Luther King did, but theirs was much more active. They were going and doing mass demonstrations and, breaking laws, technically breaking laws, and going to jail for what they believed in. It happened in this city we're in right now all the time, not that long ago. We don't really have people in our movement, not really, that have those same convictions.
I've seen some. I'm not going to lie. I have.
There are some. I'm not going to say,
but
they don't
as a whole,
exist.
we have a lot of armchair activists. I sometimes feel like I'm not doing that.
Here's the difference, though. The oppression was so much more in your face. Now they've got everybody fat and drunk and watching the Kardashians.
Sleight of hand.
It's a brave new world, and that's what we're dealing with. It's a brave new world, and that's what we're expecting. The apathetic that once did have all these extra things to get in their way to suddenly rise up. That's you're right. It's slow going, and we're going to have to find ways to get around that. And I think we're starting to see see other ways to get around that, but it's always going to be a challenge.
Well, the internet, I think, has been the greatest advantage in the fight for really just information, and how much more was concealed and easily concealed before we have the technology that we do today, and we're connected all over the world. I mean, think about how many situations, if there's a big news event going on, instead of, reading about it in the paper the next day, you can get on Twitter and start following people that are actually there in real live time.
Those people that the reporters a lot of times actually are following to get their news from. I love it, man. I'm bad about being a news junkie, so I definitely have a lot of love for some of the alternative news sources out there. But yeah, it's great.
But here's the problem I have, though, is all of this information is out there. All of the horrible atrocities that not only our own government, but all of these other world governments are doing to oppress and control their own people. We talk about Saudi Arabia so much on the show. And just the absolute brutal grip that their regime has over its citizens. I believe there's a story up on antimedia.org right now about a poet who is he's not going to be beheaded, thankfully. He's only going to receive 800 lashes and 8 years in jail for writing love poems.
Another thing real quick I wanted to mention, the headline is, Saudi Arabia ready to take part in any U.S.-led ground operations in Syria. So, it appears that Saudi Arabia is ready to throw down and go into Syria.
What better way to unite some of your country people who are already...
Yeah, they're on the out a little bit with everybody. People are getting frustrated with them, so now they're going to have to...
Hey, everybody look over there.
Mm-hmm.
Rally the troops.
And we've got the human rights case that you were just discussing. I mean, that's part of the problem. That stuff, what we're just discussing, that kind of stuff that we would never, ever, ever, ever have known about. Because of the information age we live in today, we know about this stuff. And so when the politicians look at us and like, oh, look at our allies and friends over here, it's like, we got the internet now. We know what they're really doing, and you're supporting monsters.
Yeah. So what's the end game there?
It's all about resources.
I mean, right now...
That's what it's always been about.
Yeah.
But we didn't have the information in front of us.
Equal dollars.
That's it. We didn't have the resources in front of us to know that the people who were our allies were allies for resource purposes, not because they were the most moral country in the world, and vice versa. It's not like Syria is perfect because they're far from it.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that we do business with other countries not based on their morality, like we've been told and taught?
Like we've been told for
our entire lives?
That's it.
Wow.
We pick our allies based on resources.
As you said, resources. I think most people would be a little surprised to hear that Israel, well, maybe not. Maybe you wouldn't be surprised at all for someone who's been keeping up with Israel's inside dealings within Syria. Israel just signed a big deal with Turkey to start purchasing oil and exchanging oil with Turkey, which, how much of that stuff's actually coming and being bought from ISIS. Right.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
all about the resources.
That's it.
And we've already seen video
and if you
of
pay
Turkish trucks crossing the border. I mean, everybody knows it's going on. And so everybody gets worked up about it, talks about it for a minute, and
Like this stuff is happening in plain sight. In plain sight. And no one's paying attention.
Just like police brutality, just like, the Benghazi scandal, just like all of these other things that information has brought to light. And it's pretty much like the status quo is still turning up two middle fingers and continuing to do whatever the hell they want.
This is kind of what it is. People take things for how it's presented to them. For instance, they're listening to what a politician says at election time and all the promises they make. But a lot of the time, you can just go look at the politician's voting record and see what they actually believe in and see who they're actually working for. And when those things don't reflect, like, there you go, there's your answer. I think the same is with foreign policy. We're told that this is good, and a lot of people believe that narrative. When you can just go look at the tons of different information out there and see, oh wow, this isn't the same thing either.
True. Very true.
This is just the line we've been fed.
We've been fed a lot of lines.
That's it.
And we've, watching the Democratic debate tonight, we're fed a few more.
Bernie talking about North Korea?
Wow.
What's up with that?
What's up with everybody talking about Iran still?
I hate to ask this, but was it a non-favorable line? I mean, it was what was it concerned?
Oh, yeah.
We're not friends. We are not Facebook friends.
No, not Facebook friends. And
get off my lawn.
The question was presented was Russia as big of a threat as they're being hyped to be? And that turned into Bernie saying no, because they're still working the world market. They still participate. He said the same thing with China. He goes, they participate. They're part of the world economy. He said, but North Korea is so closed off. We need to know what they're doing. They talk about nuclear weapons. We need to know. He goes, as president, I would take care of that situation. How do politicians usually take care of that situation?
Well, how does Barack Obama take care of that situation and earn Nobel Peace Prizes in the process?
Well, but that's for every other country besides North Korea. How long has this been, the moral case that we have for the greater good of all these people in various countries that we're given as a reason for regime change? That seems like North Korea
embodies that.
Right, and has done so for generations. This is nothing new. And it seems so hypocritical of the big one power that would argue that we need to go bomb 30,000, wage war and bomb two countries and kill 30,000, however many hundreds of thousands of people to pay retribution for the 3,000 lives that were unfortunately lost on 9/11. We've lost so many American lives. It destroyed so many countries, so many lives, so many families, spent billions of dollars, taxed beyond anything that we can possibly afford. And this is no end in sight whatsoever. And it's only getting worse. For what?
How much bloodshed is needed to these people to fill the empty holes at the Twin Towers, basically? When is there going to be retribution in their mind? When's it going to be enough?
How many people even think about 9/11?
We killed, quote unquote, Osama bin Laden already. We've gotten all of Al Qaeda. Then suddenly now where there's chatter about Al Qaeda being used to fight ISIS.
Oh, they're bad in some spots.
But now they're bad again, and now they've gone back to bomb. What was that in Somalia? Where was that? Not too terribly long ago. Not Somalia.
It's complicated.
Nigeria. There was a bombing, Al Qaeda bombing of some sort of hotel, or how these narratives always start.
Right.
They always start the same exact way, and then eventually that terror will find its way on a plane somehow, and finally come over here. And with 9/11, depending on which version you want to believe or not, that apparently had happened. And it's very tragic that all of those people, but how many innocent people died during the campaigns and bombings that we have undertook since then? I mean, we went to Iraq and pretty much bombed half the country so badly that now we set up a situation where ISIS, who we trained and armed, could easily swoop into those. I mean, we all we've done is we've created a bigger problem since we've been there.
Power vacuum after power vacuum, and now I'm sure you guys saw that the Taliban is now making a resurgence in Afghanistan, and now the U.S. is seemingly having to turn their eyes back towards Afghanistan again while trying to fight on the front in Syria.
Why we haven't completely pulled out of that whole entire region and just said, you know what, you guys have it. We're going to leave you to your own devices. I'm sorry you guys can't work amongst each other, but there's nothing we can do here, and move on. Because really, to be quite frank, we had no right to be there to police that region to begin with. That's how those people have lived for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. Why are we going to interfere in their way of living?
Think about this, okay? If you thought of who was a peaceful president and you were comparing Barack Obama to Richard Nixon, who would you automatically assume?
Well, if I was a liberal or somebody's just not generally paying attention, I'd say probably Barack Obama.
I think most people would say Barack Obama. Now, I am in no way defending Richard Milhouse Nixon, but what I am saying is Richard Nixon eventually got us out of Vietnam.
Well, that was kind of the point I was fixing to make.
Barack Obama has a Nobel Peace Prize and has been in office for 7 years and bombed 8 countries, and we have no plans of leaving Afghanistan
He'll be bombing countries all the way up to the day he leaves office.
That's it.
And he's not the only one. Because even if Ted Cruz were to make it in office, we see what he said too.
Every single person on the
everybody left.
Everybody left. With the exception of well, Rand's gone now.
Right.
So yeah, everybody left, and even Rand.
And you don't even trust. Who knows what he would actually do?
Yeah,
at least
that's the problem, because he was bowing to his masters with the GOP. That's been my hugest case with him.
You can say maybe he would have done the right thing, maybe he wouldn't have. I don't know. It's irrelevant now. So
well, we all know that you can't go into the White House with good intentions and expect that everything's going to go in exactly as you planned when you campaign.
Well, we know the president's not the most powerful person in office.
Area code 304918. Welcome to Anti-Media Radio. Thank you for calling tonight. What is your name? What would you like to talk about?
Hey, it's Tyler from West Virginia. I'm just tuning in to see what you guys are talking about tonight.
Hey,
Tyler, how you doing, brother?
Yeah, he called. Was it last Thursday or last Tuesday?
I think I called a couple nights ago as well.
Gotcha.
So what's on your mind?
Huh?
What's on your mind?
Basically just Donald Trump in Iowa.
What a circus that was. Do you have any predictions for what's going to happen in New Hampshire?
I have no clue what's going on in New Hampshire.
So do you think Trump is right when he says Cruz rigged the election?
Cruz rigged the election.
That's what Trump is.
That's Trump's new accusation.
Yeah, he's saying they need to have another election. Some crap.
I thought Hillary rigged her votes so she won the election.
She did rig it, but and that is actually on video. But nobody questions a Clinton over anything.
Yeah, you're referring to the Democratic election. There's, of course, the Democratic and the GOP election, and quite frankly, I think Ted Cruz kind of rigged the election by marrying an executive of Goldman Sachs, but whatever.
I do have one other thing that was on my mind recently about Nestle and the child slavery that their business is incorporating.
Oh yeah, with Nestle.
Oh yeah, those are our buddies. We haven't talked about our buddies from Nestle in a while.
Yeah, we have.
Speaking of water, they can take all that water they've been stealing from California and send it on up to Michigan. At least do some good.
No, they do no good. I can't think of any positive thing that Nestle's involved in.
No, I haven't eaten a Nestle Crunch bar, and I really miss those. But I'm sorry, I'm taking one for the team on this one. No more Nestle Crunch.
Take a stand.
No. Nestle's a really, really nasty corporation when you look at all.
It is, and a lot of people think it's just the
candy bar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, they have their hands in everything.
A lot of stuff.
So just to verify that we are not paid by Nestle, they're not one of our sponsors from the show. We are completely 100% Nestle free on this broadcast.
No, I mean, not that I would personally turn down any donations, but purchase, yeah.
I can't be bought, but I am open to donations.
Kevin is the sellout of the group.
There he is.
Right, on principle.
Nestle's not the only one. I heard Apple is actually using child slave labor to create the batteries for their iPhones too.
Oh, that's a pretty well. A lot of the not uranium. I forget what material that they use to make the batteries. It's I'm sure we'll think of it here.
Unicorn meat.
That's what we'll call it. But
I always wanted to start a punk band called a Unicorn Meat and like dress up real frilly. I think that would be awesome.
But yeah, those batteries are made for a lot of different cell phones, so it's not just Apple that's utilizing. I don't think Apple makes their own batteries, but a lot of that those batteries. Same thing from my understanding about a lot of the rechargeable cars, which is something incidentally that it's not really been taken into account. That when a lot of these electric cars, for instance, like the Tesla, when it comes time to replace batteries in all these cars, you're going to be spending a lot of money. And a lot of this stuff is coming from being mined, unfortunately. Some of it, anyways, by child labor. So,
and Apple is actually, I know, who has the nets around some of their factories.
Oh yeah, we've heard
the suicide
in China, right?
Mm-hmm. So I'm sure those working conditions are great when you have to have a net underneath your place of work. I've met a lot of people that have hated their jobs. I've had some jobs that I've absolutely despised, and at no point did I say, I'm climbing up to the roof and jumping.
People accidentally fall out of windows all the time. You know, get a little frustrated with your job, you open a window, sit at the ledge, try to get some fresh air, you accidentally fall out. That happens, man.
Cobalt is the material. Cobalt.
Yeah.
And yes, actually, when you look it up, Apple is named, Samsung, and Sony, but it seems like Apple is the one that's primarily mentioned in a lot of, at least the headlines. So it mentions even Amnesty International is reporting about it, including about the electric car batteries. So.
CEO of Apple's from Auburn. What do you expect?
What about Android? Is Android doing that stuff too, or is that just Apple? Because I'm on an Android phone right now. I don't want to feel guilty for you.
No, on Android is kind of an operating system for a lot of different types of phones.
Yeah, if you're on a Samsung, bro, I am as well. We're both guilty. So I think that's probably kind of hard to escape at this point.
It is, and that's the sad thing. Is like how far, do you want to go back and just live in the woods and have no contact with anything in our world? Because, to completely get away from things that have to do with violence, that's basically what you'd have to do. Think about how many products in this country are made in China.
I mean, I'm looking around at our desk right now. I'm sure at least 2 out of 3 of our pens are probably manufactured there.
Yeah, a lot of it is.
Yeah.
The TV I'm looking at was made in China. Lamps I'm looking at made in China. Cables made in China. Everything's made in China.
So, I mean, you would have to just go live in a hole. And
pretty much.
Who's prepared to do that and wants to do that? There's people out there that'll do it. I'm not going to sit here and act like, I'm so big and bad and tough that I'm going to do that.
Yeah, but I think what we need to be talking about right now is what's going to happen when we're forced to do it.
Well, that's a different story. That's a completely different story.
Well, I'm sure somebody will still be paying for our existence, either by labor or by forced tribute.
So, I guess we'll see. Were you able to watch any of the Democratic Abbey, Downton Abbey?
Yeah, the Democratic Puppet Show.
Yeah.
With your hosts, Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton.
I haven't been able to watch anything. I don't have cable on that. All I have is my phone. I'm only on a really cheap connection on here.
Well, you did not miss anything, so don't feel left out.
Yeah, no sense in looking it up.
Oh, okay.
It's the same. It's just like the last one and the one before that.
Hillary's still completely unlikable, and you can tell that she spent a lot of time memorizing what she's saying.
It is
Hillary. How is she still eligible for president after all the crap that she's already been found guilty for? How is she still eligible?
Her last name
who's going to charge her? That's the thing. Nobody's stepping up to charge her. We keep hearing reported. I can't tell you how many headlines I've seen that says, or FBI ready to indict, FBI any day now. And part of me believes a large part of that. But I wonder at this point if they're afraid, I say they, be the powers that be that are that are going to be charging her, that would be charging her, if in fact that was to come to fruition. It makes me wonder if these guys are waiting to see if she's actually going to be elected president before they actually drop it. What are they waiting on? We keep hearing this, but have we actually heard anything credible from any FBI sources other than he said, she said, somebody that used to work in the FBI?
I think she's paid the press to kind of act like an alarm clock, just to remind her to make sure she has every single one of those servers deleted, every single one of them, because the FBI is
tonight she was sitting here saying,
I know what you're fixing to say. That was good. That was our jaw-dropping moment of the night.
She was talking about how it was all retroactive. It was, they retroactively declassified it. I'm not ever involved in anything wrong. Oh, it's a conspiracy.
I testified for 11 hours, and they didn't get shit.
They can't break me. That was her defense.
I really wish you would just
I'm a victim.
I wish you would just loosen
My
up.
poor husband's been a victim. He didn't have sex with any of those women.
I wish you would just
None of
loosen
that's
up.
true.
Not be the prim and proper politician that she has practiced and studied for her whole entire life. I wish you would just look straight into that camera and trump it up. I'm talking about
it would be
both middle fingers up, let her hair down, take her blouse off and sling it on the stage, and I'm talking about getting rude with it. You know, because quite frankly, if you look at the way when Bernie's out there and working a crowd and we're wagging his finger and his little bony finger and this
Right
guy,
across the stage.
that's the one thing that Hillary Clinton lacks is passion. Because if she has any kind of passion
She's so
whatsoever,
constructed. She's so
work for
constructed.
even acting or pretending like she's working for the American people. She has got to be one of the most prolific welfare whores in American history, hands down. Yes, I said it. Don't look at me like that.
I'm with you.
She is. I mean, and think about her rise to the White House as a young little perky teenager in whatever bumfuck college you're from in Arkansas. Where's that, Arkansas?
Yeah, they're
from or Arkansas State or wherever. I don't like her.
Do you know she used to be on the board of Walmart?
Of course she did.
Yeah.
Of course she did. And Walmart prospered
Walmart?
greatly during the Clinton administration, if you remember.
Oh, yeah.
That's when everybody first started hearing about Walmart was during the Clinton
You know what the
administration.
largest employer in the world is? Walmart. It's true.
It's funny how that works. And that's exactly why it's important when it comes to November 2nd, Election Day, to stay in your house. It is time to shut this motherfucker down. I'm serious. I'm not. I'm saying that with all truth and all honesty.
Did you really think she was actually, when the election and become president, do you really think that it's actually possible?
For her to be
president? I don't know.
This is what I think.
This
is what I believe. I was having this conversation earlier, and it reminds me of Lyndon Johnson a little bit. Because Lyndon Johnson was about to be in a lot of trouble. This is not really mentioned much through history, but Johnson was about to get in a lot of trouble while he was vice president. And it was pretty much understood that he was not going to be on the ticket in '64, and then whatever consequences came from the outside stuff, so be it. But John was not going to put him on the ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he did what he had to do, take care of business. I think Hillary is running for president to do the same. She's running to save herself, because guess what? When Johnson became president, all that scandal stuff,
it washed away, right?
Never heard of it again. What? What are you talking about?
He was a great American. What are you talking about?
Yeah. And Hillary knows if she becomes president,
it's cool.
She can make this all go away. She just got to get there.
That's why I say I think
she's got to just extend all this long enough to get in office.
And I think the FBI, I mean, they've got to be complicit in this, obviously.
Something's going on.
I mean, who doesn't already know? You know, they're going to be aware. These guys aren't stupid. They know if she gets into office, and there's even a chance What are the chances they're going to wait in the day after?
Well, what are they going to do? Impeach her? I mean, look how her husband.
Oh, right, yeah, she's not going
Her
to.
husband handled that quite nicely.
It'll be gone, definitely.
Yeah. So.
Speaking of, I told you that we saw the video short of Bill actually explaining to some younger voters that Bill is Sanders over Clinton. So I'd still be worried. You asked a caller, Tyler, is it? Do we really think Clinton could get in office with all this stuff that she's done? Who knows, man? Bernie's picking up some steam, but
Bernie has picked up quite a bit of steam, and I think the Iowa caucus, even though the Iowa caucus did have a very bizarre, bought and paid for ending by the Clinton campaign. I'm sorry.
It didn't hurt Bernie. And
it didn't hurt him. I think in some ways it may have.
Bernie needs to pick up as much steam as he possibly can because he's going to be compared up against Hillary, and we all know Hillary's cheating her way everywhere. So Bernie needs to be.
Really what I think this is, too, is you have to remember this is all really about who the Wall Street and the big money donors want to end up supporting. You have to remember that Barack Obama beat Hillary Clinton in 2008, but he ended up raising more money than anybody had ever raised in the history of running for the presidency. While doing that. So Hillary Clinton's made a lot of enemies through the years. And it's ironic, this guy that nobody thought would ever be president, this is a long shot, all of a sudden, he's right there.
Well, and again, that's my point, is the fact
Just like Obama, this guy nobody really knew about, all of a sudden. Right
Hillary, even though the Dems have really, done everything that they could, and the donors and corporate sponsors have done everything they could to keep her in the forefront, Bernie has quietly snuck up behind her. And
the real money's on Bernie.
He's done that. Now, as far on the Democratic side,
she's a liability.
Corporate America has hedged their bet on both sides, though, and we have the two new dark horses, one of which Nick Burnaby has been very strong about, Marco Rubio.
Nick is 100% right about that.
I'm sorry, Ted Cruz's showing in the Iowa caucus, it really surprised me. It really did. I'm not going to the fact that he showed as strong as he did.
No, that's about right, because you got to remember, Cruz winning. We had Mike Huckabee win one time. We had Rick Santorum win.
It was admitted later that Ron actually won.
Ron Paul had a very strong showing in 2012.
Came in third in 2012, and of course it was just passed over. But
straw polls, he won.
He wasn't straw poll, but the caucus came in third. But so Rubio finished about where he would. So Cruz, in 4 years' time, you'll be like, that guy, remember him? He'll just kind of, he seems like a big deal today, but watch. You'll just be thinking, oh, that guy, he was funny.
Rubio's time, he's going to have his time to shine. If it's not this year, it's going to be, he'll continue. He's got a lot
I think it's now. And the only reason that I won't sit here and completely go, it will 100% be Rubio, is because I still can't figure out what Trump's doing. I can't completely figure it out.
Trump is trying to persuade people that he wants to make America great again, and he wants to
I get that.
American, and try to build his campaign and make everybody think he's someone special and someone important.
But it's okay. But my thing is, is Trump running? Is there some motive here? Is this about just stroking his own ego? Is this about he really wants to become president? What's the motive behind it?
He wants to be the CEO of the United States.
I think you're both hitting the nail on the head. This really is just another trophy on his wall. It's like,
if he's really running to become the president of the United States of America,
the CEO of America,
this is the largest.
Then let me tell you something. Outside of killing him, I don't know what they can do to stop him. He has all the money they could ever have. He doesn't need anybody's money. Now, I know that's, a big selling point, but he really doesn't need anybody's money.
That doesn't mean when he gets in office, he's not going to be willing to do it.
He's ratings gold for the media because he's insane, so they'll put anything he does on TV because their ratings are through the roof.
Yeah.
I really think if Rubio's the guy, whatever, I really think Donald Trump could disrupt it to that level. And the only way
Well, he already
has, yeah. If Rubio, if
it's
Trump
real,
was not in it,
if
Trump was not in the race, who could you guys envision would actually be leading at this point?
Well, my horse is just about all but shot, and that's
if it wasn't for Trump, Jeb would still be.
I really think Jeb would be showing a lot better. But at the same time, Jeb Bush has been absolutely just like flabbergasted in every single debate we've seen him in. I mean, it's just like he's just quietly.
Rand would still be in the race too.
Rand would be in the race, but I think Jeb would still be a Bush. I think people are still.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be this bad. It wouldn't be this.
It couldn't be this bad. Carson.
Ben Carson may be doing a little bit better than he is now. I don't think he would come across to. I don't know.
This is Carson.
Again, it really.
We hear a lot about Trump and Hillary and Sanders, but nothing about Carson.
But again, I don't really think it would matter because I think Rubio was the guy they
anointed about 4% or something like that.
He had
to push him through.
He had a good show in here a couple of weeks ago. He had his little pivotal 15 minutes in the sun, but then he kind of bombed at some of the later debates, and then he didn't get much time either. He didn't ask a lot of questions, but I don't think that man's got the testosterone that it takes to even be president. To be quite honest with you,
Rubio's a hand-picked guy, but can mind pure Trump overdo it. I mean.
Well, you guys brought up the point last time we were talking about, or a couple shows ago, about whether or not who would be more friendly to the establishment. We keep hearing that Trump doesn't owe any favors, he doesn't have to do this, he doesn't have to do this, make any deals. But that's what Trump does, is make deals.
There's no telling what he would do.
Right. What would we see if we saw a Sanders administration? Will we see more deals being made? Will we see anybody?
I can just see it. I can just see Donald Trump getting on TV and explaining to the American people why we just are going to sell parts of Montana to Canada.
Yeah, right.
I can see that.
Auction off complete, because of course it's the federal government. We saw recently they come out in support of of not giving any land back to the state's control because they can't trust the states. You can't trust the federal government now. We'll see what happens.
What's so crazy to me is that you get all these brainwashed people and we're conservatives. The same exact people, Donald Trump's running. I'm all in for this guy. I'm all about some Trump. Conservative Trump. They're complete polar opposites of what they're supposed to believe.
Well, I think most people are not as conservative as they think. I think they've been.
Trump is for bigger government. He's for spying on people.
He's been a progressive his whole life for the most part.
His whole life. He's been for abortion. He's been for socialized healthcare.
Donald Trump stands for abortion?
He did. He does it now. He did.
He started reading his Bible recently.
He started reading his Bible, even though
I'm sure that's why.
He knows. I don't think he's ever.
Donald Trump reads the Bible.
When he said, what he says is it's his favorite.
Yeah, the 2 Corinthians, they're all great. Yeah.
They asked him what his favorite verse was, and in typical Trump fashion, he just kind of looked at the reporter and was like, "They're all great. They're all. They're all great."
And here's the problem.
Is he just saying these things for publicity and trying to get people clicks and attention, or does he actually mean it?
Well, that's at the heart. And hey, and thanks for the call tonight too, man. We've got to move on. But that's what about Trump. You don't know what he's saying one minute to the next. We've heard so many, even on abortion. I listened to one interview he gave where he explained that he doesn't like it, he detests it, but that he is pro-choice because that's where he's always been raised. But yet, then when you see him go on to other programs and get blessed by Jerry Falwell as the second coming, and he's suddenly a big Christian and gains the support of the evangelical groups and crowds overnight. they finally dropped all that support for Santorum, apparently. And I didn't even realize he was still in the race until he dropped out. But it's amazing. It didn't take very much to get the support.
I've heard that name before. For sense.
Sweater
Rick.
Bits.
I remember Rick.
Sweater
Yeah,
Bits.
good old Rick. Yeah.
Bob Saget's long lost brown-headed brother.
Yeah.
Man, Rick Santorum has a special place in my heart. That guy had the audacity to get up on that stage for all the dates in 2012 and talk about, oh my gosh, abortion's the worst thing that's ever happened. It's murdering babies. We can't have this. That's murder. And then 2 questions later, he would be like, oh, all those brown people overseas, we need to bomb them. They're going to hurt us.
All lives matter.
And we got to bomb them now.
That's typical, too.
That's disgusting.
Oh, it's horrible. That's what gives so many people to look up to what they used to look up to Christianity at some point. And when they weren't known for being supporters of warmongering. They used to, countries would use St. Augustine's just war theory to look and see if there was really a justification for going to war, at least even in a Christian sense. And that idea is completely lost on most Christians. In fact, they're some of the biggest ones and first ones to rush and to advocate sending your neighbors and your sons and daughters over to a foreign land to fight.
It's been painted, though, the so-called Christian right in this country, and look, I'll preface this with the fact I'm a Christian, but I don't subscribe to any of these views that we're talking about.
I am, but I kind of formally do. I came up, so I understand it from that perspective too.
But to me, it's not the Christianity of love, it's the Christianity of fear. And they feel like they've been swayed into believing they're somehow in a war with Muslims. And so these people are just like, kill all the Muslims, they're going to come get us. We're scared. They're going to kill us. And then so you ask, like, well, what examples can you give me of one of these countries that you want us to bomb of doing something? Well, 9/11. Okay, well, that's really questionable.
Yeah,
and fair enough. That in and of itself is questionable. I don't know what happened.
Muslims melt steel beams, yo.
Okay, so 50
but wait. Okay, so then it's like, well, you went to Iraq. That didn't have nothing to do with 9/11. Oh, well, they had some weapons.
And most people don't realize that either. That's a stretch now if people remember it. If they even know that Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11.
Yeah.
It's pathetic that, at least know the story they fed you.
Right.
And now it's ISIS.
Now it's ISIS.
Yeah. And ISIS was created how again? Yeah.
I don't know if I saw that episode of G.I. Joe.
Well,
a lot of it was the old Saddam's Ba'athist regime. And a lot of other forces, too. It's interesting. I heard actually this morning that Russia is now being labeled a greater threat to American security than ISIS. You believe that?
Well, that's where the question about North Korea, that's how that came in.
Yeah, I can believe that. While we have Kissinger just met up with Putin. They had an interesting conversation.
We have nuclear weapons pointed in every single direction of the known free world.
And NATO could pee.
Who really? And they all have nuclear weapons aimed at us.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of the day, what are we really going to do? So we're going to go to open war with Russia. How's that going to work?
Look, we had Chris Christie on a debate stage. He wasn't the only one.
No, he wasn't.
Talking about, we need to implement a no-fly zone in Syria. That's the greatest idea of all time, and it's going to keep us safe. Look, I don't know if Rand Paul is the most trustworthy person ever. But God bless him for standing up there and saying, do you people not understand that you're going to shoot down a Russian plane And when that happens, you're going to start World War III.
Absolutely.
This is the dumbest idea that you can possibly have. And nobody comprehended what he was saying.
Shout out to you Rand haters out there. On that note, anyways.
Well, again, that's...
Oh, I understand.
That's
We've all got our gripes.
But he was dead right on that one. I'll give him that.
And if I'm not mistaken, actually Donald Trump actually kind of gave, I don't think he gave credit to Rand, but he was asked about that as well. And he wasn't very supportive of Middle East, at least going to that far. And to add to your point, Chris Christie reiterated his answer when asked and pressed upon it if he understood that meant shooting, would he be prepared to shoot down a Russian plane? And he affirmed, yeah, he certainly would. So, he didn't have to have it explained to him that he was more than willing
to admit it.
Yeah, at least to stand up there and puff on his chest and say, "Hey, I'll be damned if I won't be the next president willing to take America into another war with Russia." It's disgusting.
Who runs for president campaigning for the fact they will indeed start World War III? Like, how crazy do you have to be? At least be like Obama. Lie to me about what you're going to do. Show me the respect to lie to me, to actually be crazy enough to run and go, yeah, I'd start World War III. I would do that.
Do you think it's
that is something I would consider doing?
Yeah,
for not much.
Making a statement like that and not understanding
for something that is not our business, I would start World War III.
Not understanding the ramifications behind that, which the United States president's kind of supposed to know.
That's psychotic.
Yeah.
Are we asking? Not say we loosely, but are they feeding that to a lot of the American people, or the American people are expecting that and they're delivering?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
Well, and why hasn't anybody asked a simple question? Why do we need a no-fly zone in Syria?
They obviously think that the Americans want to hear that.
Right. Well, not just for Russia, but for Assad also, obviously.
Yeah. But why is it up to us to establish that no-fly zone?
Because if we don't do it, somebody else will.
Yeah. Who? Syria?
No, but that's the argument we're getting.
Yeah. I mean, why doesn't Syria have the same right that America does to establish a no-fly zone?
If we don't invade them, someone else will invade them. So we're just going to go ahead and do that for them.
Right. Yeah. China.
Yeah. If we don't do it, somebody will.
That's like me using a defense of robbing somebody. Well, I mean, you saw. I mean, you just had to see them. They had all this fancy jewelry.
But that's exactly.
Somebody was going to rob them. It should have. It might have well just been me. I didn't at least beat them up.
They were walking in a dangerous neighborhood, and I was scared they were going to get robbed. So I went and took all their stuff. That way, nobody could rob them.
Yeah. And look, if they can't control what goes on in their borders, then by darn it, we need to.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't control that place.
I think I'm going to go to their house and hang out at their house and make sure nobody comes over to rob them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a complete disconnect between the people that realize that the federal government and their actions overseas. I have this with a family member all the time when she asks me, do I hate America, when we get to discussing foreign policy. And you have to constantly remind people that there is a big difference between the American people and the actions of the federal government. And who can't tell me that the actions of the federal government do not endanger the lives of the American citizens more and more every single day?
Of course it does. Think of it like this. Think about how crazy this scenario sounds. If I were to say to you, okay, our neighbors over there, I know that they're hitting their kids with belts. So what we're going to need to do to stop that from happening is we're going to tear down the wall of their house and take their house over and just live there. Yeah. And then the kids will probably die in this exchange, but
the parents
they won't be getting beat anymore.
Yeah, the parents can still.
So we'll stop the beatings, and we'll have done the right thing.
Sadly, that's probably not too far off of a lot of cases that we see with the state taking kids. Well, that's another subject altogether, but it happens definitely. It's preposterous.
That's an insane thought to have. Nobody would do that, and yet that is our foreign policy. You just won't believe what they're doing. You just won't believe it. So this is what we're going to have to do. We're going to go have to bomb them. and bomb them and bomb them.
It always reminds me of Four-Star General Wesley Clark's speech about the 7 countries in 5 years. Of course, he missed out on the target date a little bit, but it always reminds me when I start hearing these Middle Eastern countries and I hear that we're bombing a new one, or that Yemen, for instance, is being bombed by Western coalitions or Western-backed allies, Saudi Arabia, for example. It's never going to end. I say it's never going to end. It's going to end. And it's going to come to an abrupt end. It's going to be not going to be a soft landing. But until it does, it's going to continue to escalate.
I think you're spot on when you say that, and I think that's a really scary thought that it will come to an abrupt end. I mean, look at the corporate PR guys that are running for president right now. They're all supporting war. And I don't even want to hear somebody say the words Bernie Sanders to me about that.
So even Bernie, correct me if I'm wrong, was on the affirmative, like pretty much just nearly all of the candidates on both sides of the fence about our level of aggression with Iran.
Yeah, he supported a bunch of stuff, but the point is, you got Hillary. Straight up, I'll do it. I'm down. I took out Gaddafi, by the way. Like
she personally put the gun to his head.
Oh yeah. Sure. But at the time, we had nothing to do with it. Now they take credit for it. So
it had nothing to do with his plans to unite the country under the under a gold standard.
But now they take credit for it because he is a bad man. Gonna come get you, bad man. Got to fix it. And of course, Jeb with his exclamation point. He's a Bush. We know what that's about. Rubio, complete warmonger. He's down. Let's blow him up. Iran, take him out. Whatever. They attacked us. Nope, don't matter. Start that war up. Ted Cruz, same thing. We're going to carpet bomb them. We're going to make the sand glow. I love Jesus, but we're going to go kill all them brown people over there. Trump. Who knows? Trump has advocated for
every.
What's wrong with all these politicians? Right? People have been president. They scared to use nuclear weapons.
Yeah,
they're scared to use them.
Yeah.
What's the point of having them? We're not going to use them.
Yeah. Donald Trump will actually get, if that ever came down to it, and God forbid if he ever reaches the Oval Office, for him to get on national TV and pull the little button out and sit it on the desk.
He'll do it.
And just sit there with his finger pointed down and just start off in an hour-long tirade about this. I mean, seriously.
Turning all different shades of red.
I mean, really, which one of you motherfuckers wants me to touch this button right now?
He would do it. He would do it.
North Korea, if you don't stand down and go back in your hole, I will blow you back into Kingdom Trump because I am Donald Trump and you're fired.
It would happen. It would happen. We would all be dead by his hand.
Yeah. Well, and really, if you think about it, how is Donald Trump any crazier than the rest of these damn candidates?
At the same time,
he is. And I hate to say that, but he's a different level.
I mean, how is he any more pathological than, let's say?
I don't.
But here's the thing:
I don't know if he's pathological.
He probably is.
Not.
He probably is. But the
one thing thinks he's God.
The one thing I will say, he probably genuinely. I don't believe that he. This doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I don't believe, unlike, say, Ted Cruz, who I think does not have America's best interest, who I think has his interest first. I think Trump genuinely, he's going to wreck it, but I think he generally hopes that it does. I don't know about any of that, but that's it for us. Anti-Media will be back next Tuesday. Shannon, Kevin.
Later. Supreme 16, fear the boots.
We got it in.
Anti-Media Radio out.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the stereo.